Happy Thursday! On this week's episode of the Otaku Experience, Dandadan is set to receive an anime adaptation, Viz Media releases their spring 2024 manga slate, Crunchyroll reveals their Anime Expo plans, and much, much more. Behold, it's me, Israel King, the CEO of SAO, the resident PGS Transformers expert, as proclaimed by Robert Meyer Burnett, or as most people know me, Kingtanic. Hello and welcome to all of my fellow weebs, otakus, imagination connoisseurs, and all the members of the Post-Geek Singularity to another episode of the Otaku Experience, the anime non-news show where we discuss the current goings-on in the anime and manga industry and everything else surrounding Japan with our very uneducated opinions. Special thanks to Robert Meyer Burnett, all the great folks at the Burnett Network, and of course you, our viewers, because without you guys, this show would not be possible. Now, before we go into this next episode of the Otaku Experience, as you could probably see by the little layout, there's a little thing right there. Oh, it's pretty, you just, squish it. Okay, anyways. Yeah, there's a different layout. We talked a little bit about this last week, or if this is your first episode watching the Otaku Experience and you don't know what's going on, these past few weeks we've been trying some new stuff to just see how we can experiment with the show, with the format, see what's the most fun for me, what's the most enjoyable for you guys. And we're trying something new where we're kind of going back to the original style, but we're mixing in some of the stuff from the newer style that we've been doing the past few weeks. And I think that this is going to be a really fun style. I've been making graphics like crazy and preparing the stories, and I think that this is going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun. And I think that you guys are really going to enjoy this episode of the Otaku Experience. That being said, whether you do enjoy it or whether you don't, I'm sure you're going to have some form of feedback or thoughts. Do me a favor and jump down in the comment section below and let me know those thoughts. So that way I can do my best to apply things that you guys think, whether you're like, hey, Israel, this is too much, or think about doing this maybe instead, something like that. And then, next week I can try to apply any changes that you guys want. Maybe you guys are going to be like, go back to what you were doing the past few weeks and we can do that. Or maybe you're going to be like, hey, this is perfect. Don't do anything else. This is great. And then we'll just keep it like this. But either way, I'm very excited to do this next episode of the Otaku Experience because I think that this is going to be really, really cool. And I'm excited for you guys to check this episode out. But with that being said, let's hop right into the news, starting with the anime news. All right, so Dandadan, a popular manga, a very popular manga. I was like, oh, okay. I saw this thing coming out. And, every week there's like 2 to 3, sometimes even like 5 anime announcements in a week. And I always have to go in and check. But usually I go in being like, okay, it's probably going to be something that no one's really ever heard of. But then I pulled this thing up on my anime list, and I was just surprised by how massive this thing was. If I pull it up on my anime list right now, because I don't have it pulled up because I'm super freaking unprepared. I should have thought this through, but I didn't. So this has an 8.26 on my anime list and 103 members. The manga is currently not done. It started on April 26, 2021, and it's been going for a while there. And I don't know if they have announced who is going to be doing it, but there's a little bit of an article here, and I kind of want to go through the major beats of this article. And so this was actually found out on a Twitter account dedicated to news and leaks about the anime and manga industry called Shueisha Leaks. And I tried to look into this. They have the link in a lot of the articles for where this tweet came from. But if I do that, it takes me to a link that says, you can't see this because the person who tweeted this limits who can view their tweets. And so I can't see it. So I don't know how true this is. I don't know how reliable this source is, but this is kind of what everybody's going off of right now. And so what they say is that that they announced basically that this leak account was kind of like, hey, yeah, this is going to become an anime. Dandadan is going to become an anime. And I don't think they announced which studio is going to do it. But a lot of people have put in a bunch of thoughts as to what it can be. Some people think it's going to be Studio Bones. Obviously, MAPPA is a major choice as well, and things like that. But I think that this is going to be very exciting and a very big success because especially if your manga can hit 100,000 members on my anime list, you are basically setting yourself up for a Jujutsu Kaisen level popularity anime, or like Demon Slayer, or like one of these big major shonens that comes out and just takes that anime season by storm. I mean, unless this goes up against another season of Jujutsu Kaisen or up against another season of Chainsaw Man or something like that. If this comes out kind of like how Oshinoko is right now, where there's really nothing else besides Demon Slayer, if it has like one other piece of competition that doesn't completely overshadow it, I think that this could be like a huge anime of the season and potentially even an anime of the year in terms of hype. I'm not going to start saying like, oh yeah, in terms of quality, this could be that, because I have not read the manga and I have not seen anything about that. And all I know is that this sounds super interesting. I think they did have a synopsis here, and we can go ahead and take a look at that. It says, after being aggressively rejected, Momo Ayase finds herself sulking when she stumbles across a boy being bullied. Saved by her rash kindness, the occult-obsessed boy attempts to speak to her about supernatural interest he believes they share. Rejecting his claims, Ayase proclaimed that she instead is a believer in ghosts, starting an argument between the two over which is real. In a bet to determine who is correct, the two decide to separately visit locations associated with both the occult and the supernatural, Ayase visiting the former and the boy visiting the latter. When the two reach their respective places, it turns out that neither was wrong in that both the occult and ghosts do exist. This marks the beginning of Ayase and the boy's adventure as they attempt to fix the surreal supernatural and occult elements around them to return to a normal life. All I'll say is it sounds super interesting. There's action, there's supernatural stuff. Sounds maybe like a little bit of a psychological horror in there as well element. Just looking at some of the manga chapters, as you can see by that character up there, I think it just looks and sounds super interesting. I like this art style. I'm down. Obviously, this has not been confirmed by anything yet. Heck, I mean, it's not even been announced on my anime list, and no major studio has announced it. If you had to like ask me like, when do I think that this would come out if this were true, I would say that this is probably going to be something, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but probably something we're going to see at Anime Expo. Like I said, we don't know which studio is going to be making this, if this is even coming out. I'm willing to bet that it is coming out, but I would probably place my bet on MAPPA or Bones or something like that for anime studios that are known for doing shows with that major action element and know that they can do it properly. And also with something as big as this, it kind of just seems like it probably would fall into one of those shows, but who knows, maybe Aniplex is going to announce that they got it, or Studio Orange or whatever. But I do think that we'll probably see this announced at Anime Expo. And if it's not announced, then I would wager that this is probably, not that this will never get an anime adaptation, but that this leak is not true. Because I don't know why. It just seems like really convenient timing that Anime Expo is in a little over 2 weeks from when I'm filming this, and suddenly this big leak comes out about this huge popular manga getting an anime adaptation. It just kind of seems to line up perfectly for a big major announcement like that. So what do you guys think about that? Have you read Dandadan? Are you more interested now that I read the synopsis? Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on that. All right, so one of the anime that's airing right now is Tonikawa Season 2. Tonikawa Over the Moon for You was one of my favorite anime back in 2020. I think that came out, gosh, it's so long ago. But it's a super cute romance anime. A quick rundown synopsis of it is that you have this guy named Nasa, who's named after space. You can laugh, it's funny. He's about to get hit by this truck, and then this girl named Tsukasa blocks the truck, and then she somehow walks away as if nothing just happened. He has broken legs, but he gets up because of the adrenaline, and he can't feel nothing. He runs after her, proposes to her on the spot. She says yes. Now they're married, and it's a super cute anime talking about that. And season 2's airing right now. I started it. I'm not fully caught up. I'm a few episodes behind, but it's been just as cute as the first season, and I love this show because it's so wholesome. But it has just been announced that they are doing a 4-episode mini arc thing called High School Days, Tonikawa High School Days, which is really interesting. And so they have a little synopsis here where they say the new anime centers on the series protagonist Nasa, who is asked by his junior high school teacher to hold a class in an all-girls high school. The students end up seeking Nasa's advice about their love problems. On the other hand, Tsukasa pretends to be cool, but is actually nervous knowing Nasa is surrounded by young high school girls. And I tried to look into this to see if this is actually something that's based off of the manga because I don't read the manga. I'd prefer to experience the show in the anime. And I couldn't find anything super concrete about it just yet. And that doesn't mean that it's not in the manga or whatever. It just means that I couldn't find it. Maybe this is a little mini arc, or maybe this is an anime original thing. I know that this show, between seasons 1 and 2, because there was about a 3-year gap, they had a bunch of OVAs come out in between those. And so maybe this is that as well, just to kill the time in between. But this is also expected to air starting in July, basically the summer anime season as well. So we're going to get Tonikawa through the spring, through the summer, Tonikawa for 2 back-to-back seasons. And it sounds like, and I could be wrong, I may just be misinterpreting the facts, but the way it's worded, it sounds like they're going to be not airing this weekly, that they're going to split this between almost evenly throughout the next anime season. And I don't know if that means they're going to air an episode every 2 weeks, if they're going to air an episode every 3 weeks or whatever. But all I know is I'm interested to see it. It sounds like fun hijinks. It sounds like really goofy stuff that this anime is known for. We're going to see Tsukasa get jealous and angry. We're going to see Nasa probably get overwhelmed by all these high school girls having crushes on him. And he's just like super uncomfortable. It's going to be great. It's going to be funny. It's going to be cute. I'm super excited to see it. Not a super juicy story necessarily, but one that I'm personally very excited for. Maybe you guys don't watch Tonikawa, Over the Moon for You, in which case you should fix that. Hopefully I sold you on it with my great synopsis. And if you do watch Tonikawa, are you excited for this? If you've read the manga for Tonikawa, do you know if this is something that's based off of the manga? I wasn't able to find a concrete answer because I don't read the manga. Let me know that insight down below, or is this some anime original thing? I'm super excited to know. Either way, I'm super excited to see this because I love Tonikawa, and yeah, dude, 2 back-to-back seasons of Tonikawa. What a time to be alive. All right, so the biggest show airing this season, tied with Oshinoko, is Demon Slayer Season 3, or Demon Slayer Swordsmith Village. Now, personally, this has been the weakest Demon Slayer has ever been for me. That's including Season 1, that's including Season 2, that's including the Mugen Train movie. Personally, this season just really hasn't been able to grip me. I thought it had a decent, I'll be honest, I thought it had a pretty good first episode. And I really liked where a lot of the elements were going, but I just found that with mediocre new side characters and just some demons that aren't as intriguing as we've seen demons be in the past. Personally, this season hasn't been the greatest for me, but it has just been announced earlier this week that the Demon Slayer finale is going to be an extra long episode. It's going to be 70 minutes. And they released a preview. I usually don't watch anime previews, but they released a preview for this. They, like I said, they announced that this episode is going to be 70 minutes long. That means that this season is going to be bookmarked by 2-hour-long plus episodes, which I think is very interesting. You know, I've been talking about this for weeks. Every time we talk about an extra long episode, we talked about it with the Oshinoko thing. We talked about it when Attack on Titan came back earlier this year, that I really, really like it and prefer it when you have these really serious story-based anime. I really like it when they have much longer episodes where they can breathe and it feels like you're making real progress in the story, because I find that oftentimes, not that they're bad, but that in such a short time span, by the time I settle into the episode, the credits roll. I'm like, all right, time to get in here. All right, let's see what's going on with Tanjiro. Oh, it's over. And it's like, oh, dang. It's like, I guess maybe I'm spoiled with like the HBO Max, like House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones stuff, where it's like over an hour long per episode. But I just really think that it would help. And I know that there's things like the Japanese anime airing time, because they air on TV still, and so they have to match this giant schedule already, so they have to find free time. And I get there's a big workaround, and so would be pretty hard to be like, hey, for 13 weeks straight, let's just air for an episode that's 3 times as long as they usually are. I get that. I do. But at the same time, I'm almost like, Come on, though. Come on, please. You know what I mean? Like, the ReZero first season, they have a director's edition. And that was the edition I watched when I got into ReZero for the first time. And those episodes are like 45 minutes long. And they're just like double the length. It's the same show, but they just like put the episodes back to back and like stretched out certain sequences because it's the director's cut. And I was like, man, this is such an intense show. Like, it felt like so much more, I guess, professional and real and high value because the episodes were so long rather than the 20-minute Saturday morning cartoon link that you would find on like Cartoon Network or, what channel was that you would turn on when you were a kid? It wasn't Cartoon Network. I don't even remember, but you would like flip it on and like it would air like Sonic X and things like that. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about. But either way, the Demon Slayer finale is going to be 70 minutes long, over an hour. Hopefully that means that they're able to wrap everything up as well, set things up for the new arc. I'm glad that this doesn't mean that they're going to do a movie, because they could have just tried to do a movie where they air like 2 episodes before this and then this. And then be like, yeah, come see the Swordsmith Village new movie. It's 2 hours long. And then you go and see it and like half of it's stuff. And then like you get 70 minutes of new stuff. I'm glad that they're just having this be an episode. And hopefully this will do some, hopefully the season can end off in a solid way, where I thought most of the season kind of fell off for me personally. So keeping with the trends of really long episodes, Atelier Ryza is not having a long finale. I mean, it might, they haven't revealed that, but it's going to be having a long first episode. The premiere is going to be 1 hour long. So we're going to get a 70-minute Demon Slayer episode and then a 1 hour Atelier Ryza episode. And like the same thing I was saying with Demon Slayer, I love this. I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you. Like, there's so much stuff that we can get into. Like, if Oshinoko, and I had problems with the Oshinoko first episode. I love the show now, but it took me a second to get to that hype level that everybody else was at. But one thing that I really loved about the Oshinoko premiere is that it was 90 minutes long. It was like a full thing. You know, and you were able to set up so much that by the time we got to episode 2, the ball was rolling. We were there. We were in the plot. Whereas if they would have done what a normal anime adaptation would do and not cut any of that stuff out, that would have been like 5 episodes worth of stuff. And then we finally would have gotten halfway through the first season of the anime, and then the plot would have actually started, and it would have been really bad. So I thought that was a genius decision with Oshinoko. And so hopefully that means that they have the same sort of mindset here with Atelier Ryza, doing the same thing, where it's going to have an hour-long premiere. Hopefully this means that we're going to get a lot of stuff, a lot of introduction to characters, a lot of plots getting set in motion, character arcs starting, world building. There's so much you can do within that first hour that I hope that they can do and accomplish to get us really hooked on this universe that we're going to be spending the next season in. Because I'm very excited to see Atelier Ryza. We've been talking about this for a few weeks. I think that it looks very, very solid and very promising. Please don't let me down. It would suck if like maybe there's other 1 hour episodes that have been announced for the next season, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. It would suck if like the 1 hour episode, after I've been begging for weeks to have 1 hour episodes, is like a boring episode that does nothing for me. And I'm like, all right, well, not going to watch that. Like, that'd be super freaking awkward. But, either way, I do like this, and I like that more anime are doing this more often. I think they are seeing the benefits of it, and hopefully this means that within, maybe like 5-6 years, we can start seeing some anime experiment with doing maybe not even a full season, but say like it's the length of Arknight's Prelude to Dawn, where it's like a 8-episode show, and then those then make like 40-minute episodes just to experiment with it. I would love to see how that would play out, and kind of see how that would do things with the anime industry. And I don't think every series needs to have super long episodes. I just think it's anime like Atelier Ryza, like the upcoming Frieren, like Oshinoko, like Demon Slayer, those shows that have those big stories. When it's a show like More Than a Married Couple But Not Lovers, those episodes need to be like 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Whereas shows where there's more of a story there, and there's more of a plot and a groundedness, and as Rob would say, a verisimilitude, I think that you need those longer episodes, because by the time you finally get settled in, the credits are rolling. And I think it's really sad. And I think that it would be a net positive for the anime community if we started getting more on a regular basis, longer episodes in anime. But anyways, what are you guys' thoughts on that? Are you, do you know the Atelier Ryza manga and you're like, oh, yes, thank you, 1 hour episode. This means that they'll do the first episode justice and everybody will get hooked on it. Or are you thinking like, oh no, I hate the manga. An hour of this is going to be, what are your thoughts? I want to hear all of your nuanced takes in the comments down below. All right, before we go on to the box office report for this past week, we're going to take a look at the TV animation rankings from May 29th through June 4th. So at number 1, we have Sazai-san, and that got an average household rating of 7.4. We had Demon Slayer Swordsmith Village, which had an average rating of 7.3. Chibi Maruko-chan, which had 5.4 as the average rating. Detective Conan, 5.3. Doraemon with a 3.0. Mix Season 2 at a 2.8. Crayon Shin-chan at a 2.7, One Piece at a 2.7, Soaring Sky Pretty Cure at a 2.5, and Curious George at a 1.9. And like we've said before, these are on the scale of, I believe, the millions, and this is based off of they're using the Kanto region as their reference point for that. And now going forward, we will be checking into the Anime Trending, Anime Corner audience rankings for the past week, the video game ranking. So stay tuned throughout the rest of the episode as we check into those rankings. But getting into the Japanese box office this past weekend, at number 1, we had The Little Mermaid, the new release, Little Mermaid 2023, and that made $5.1 million. We had the Super Mario Brothers movie, which made $3.1 million. We had Monster, which honestly, I've never even heard of. I don't know what that is. And that made $1.93 million. We had Fast X, making $1.78 million this past weekend. Detective Conan Black Iron Submarine at $1.09 million. Starting out our bottom half of the top 10 is Megan, which I'm surprised is still in theaters because that's been out of theaters in the States for months now. So I guess, and the fact that it's still making $1 million over in Japan, that's pretty freaking cool. Then we had Kishibe Rohan Ruvuru Iku, which made $172,000 this past weekend. Idolish 7 movie made $111,000 this past weekend. Tokyo Mer at made $636,000 this past weekend. Not million. That'd be crazy if it made $636 million in one weekend. Wow, new box office champion. And then we had the first Slam Dunk, which is still in here, making $329,000 this past weekend. The first Slam Dunk always. Dude, we've been reading first Slam Dunk headlines for months. It's been ridiculous how often they just keep freaking doing that. It's crazy. All right, and getting into the Anime Trending audience ranking for this past week, week 9 in the spring 2023 anime season. We're actually about to be getting into the point where we need to start looking at these summer 2023 anime season, which we'll be doing next week. So keep your eyes open for that. But starting at number 1, we had Tengoku Daimakyo, which has spent now 2 weeks at number 1. At number 2, we had Hell's Paradise, which is a re-entry. So first week back into the top 10, and immediately comes back into number 2. At number 3, we had Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury Season 2, which dropped 1 spot as Hell's Paradise came back in. At number 4, we had Oshinoko, which was a re-entry because it took the previous week off. And I actually really like this episode. Like I've been saying, Oshinoko, I've been loving it lately. Loving it. It's so good. At number 5, we have Insomniacs After School, which dropped 2 spots as Mobile Suit Gundam dropped and Oshinoko came back into the list. At number 6, we had The Dangers in My Heart, which dropped 1 spot. It seems like everything's facing the repercussions of, Hell's Paradise and Oshinoko popping back in to the top 10, and everything else is suffering for that, which is fine. It's okay. It's fine. At number 7, we had Skip and Loafer, which dropped 3 spots, which is insane. At number 8, we have Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible. We've been seeing this in here every single week since it came back. So glad that it's coming back. And I'm very excited. I'm glad to see that it probably feels really good for the studio, seeing how well the reception has been on the thing. Like, could you imagine if like they spent 3 months trying to finish up the production because they were having production issues, and then like everybody's like, this is the worst anime I've ever seen in my entire life? Like, that would suck. And so I'm glad that whether they actually think that the show is this quality or whether they're just trying to support the studio, regardless, I'm happy to see it up here. Then we had Why Raelion Ended Up at the Duke's Mansion at number 9, which dropped 2 spots from number 7. And then closing out our top 10 is My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999, which dropped 2 spots down to number 10. And that is that for the anime trending ranking this week. Of course, we'll keep an eye out for that next week, as we do every week. With that being said, let's move on over into the manga news for this week. All right, so kicking off the manga news for this week, we had Viz Media announce their spring 2024 manga slate, and we had a ton of stuff. So starting out with Marriage Toxin, and it says, Jiro may be a master assassin, but he's not exactly killing it in the romance department. Can marriage swindler Kinosaki help him find true love? Then they had In the Name of the Mermaid Princess, just FYI, there were like 20 something of these, and I couldn't add graphics for every single one of those because I would have a brain heart attack trying to keep track of all of those, and OBS would probably just crash and burn, just so you guys know. But I've kept a few to kind of cycle through. Then we had In the Name of the Mermaid Princess, and they say, what happens if a mermaid princess doesn't have to give up her special abilities for love? Then they had I Want This to End Love Game, which actually looks really cute. This is a really cute cover. Since childhood, Yukiya Asagi and Miku Sakura have played the love game where they try to fluster each other with a simple I love you, but after falling in love for real and refusing to admit it, neither of them can afford to lose this battle. That sounds really, really wholesome. Like, what the heck? Like, that sounds super. I gotta read this. Oh my gosh, let me take a screenshot of that. Then they had Stitches, and they say this collection of prose with original illustrations from Eisner Award winner Junji Ito features 9 tales of true unsolved mysteries and original manga. That sounds really fascinating. Then they had Pokemon Adventures Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Sapphire and Emerald need Ruby's help to stop a crisis of planetary proportions, a meteor hurtling towards their home. Then they had the complete Pokemon Pocket Guide, a massive, newly revised guide that covers 898 Pokemon, fully illustrated and totally comprehensive. This 2-volume series includes full-color pictures, descriptions, and stats on abilities, moves, and evolutions. Then they had a Goku Rakugai. For the right price, these professional troubleshooters can solve any problem, whether they're taking out the scum of the earth or destroying human-eating monsters. Then they had Tokyo These Days. Eisner Award winner Taiyo Matsumoto brings us a touching news story of the inescapable bonds between manga creators, their editors, art, and life itself, as told from the perspective of a disgraced manga editor. That also sounds super fascinating. Then they had Jujutsu Kaisen, the original character guide, dive into the world of Jujutsu sorcerers, and Wicked Cursed Spirits with Jujutsu Kaisen, the official character guide. This ultimate handbook features profiles of all the major characters and exclusive interview between Gege Akutami and Bleach creator Tite Kubo. Then they had Splatoon Splatlands. Goggles travel to Splatlands, meets an inkling named Braid, and embarks on a fresh series of adventures set in the world of Splatoon. Status Royale. Status Royale is the game to master to join the rank of elite players in the competitive world of esports. Follow Vel as her competitive spirit is unlocked. Then they had Steel of the Celestial Shadows. A down-and-out samurai who can't even hold a sword enters a strange world of magic and searching for honor and redemption. Then they had My Name is Shingo, the perfect edition, a chilling science fiction tale of humanity and AI from classic horror manga creator Kazuo Umezu. That's probably just because of the sudden surge in that being so prevalent today that I have the super big urge to check that out, just because it has to deal with humans and AI. And it's from a horror creator, and they said it's kind of chilling, so maybe that's going to be a super relevant commentary. That sounds super interesting. Then they have Magomir, Magical Girls Inc. There's never a dull day at the office when you're a magical girl. Snowball Earth, a young mecha pilot, Tetsuo survives the last great battle against alien horde. He awakens from his escape pod on Earth 8 years later. to a world in ruins and frozen beneath a blanket of ice. And they had Kimi ni Todoke, From Me to You, Soulmate. The story of Kimi ni Todoke continues in the sequel, starring Sawako and her former rival Kurumi in college. Then they had One Piece Ace's Story, the manga, based on the novel series One Piece Ace's Story. This action-packed prequel features the adventures of Luffy's beloved brother Ace. Then they have One Piece Shoku Geki no Sanji. The Food Wars creative team cooks up a special One Piece one-shot. One Piece Shokugeki no Sanji serves up all 6 original chapters in one collection. And finally, Viz Media unveiled a digital exclusive title slated for fall 2023, entitled Earth Child. Kareri Hoshifuri is an Earth Child, a special human imbued with powers by the Earth itself, an unlikely romance with high schooler Ryusuke Sawada, a planet-sized consequences. Wow, that is a lot of stuff that they announced, and surprisingly, a lot of stuff that like sounds super interesting. I was like, oh no, a bunch of stuff I'm not going to be interested in besides like the One Piece stuff and the Jujutsu Kaisen stuff, you know, the usual stuff. But there's a lot of new stuff in there, like the one that dealt with the AI, the romance one, and then even that last one sounded kind of interesting. And so that's really, really cool. And so, hey, a lot of good manga coming out in the next year, which makes me very, very excited. Speaking of major manga announcements, we had Comikey adding 10 manga from Square Enix this month, and they had a bunch of new stuff for this June issue. So Comikey announced 10 new titles from Square Enix on Saturday that were released this month. The company will be localizing the titles. These titles are also available on the Manga Up global service. And then they had Caterpillar, the Amazing Village creator, slow living with the village building cheat skill, the villainous Guide to Not Falling in Love, a dating sim of life or death, the daily life of a middle-aged online shopper in another world, from leveling up the hero to leveling up a nation, cheat mode farming in another world. I'm glad they kicked me from the hero's party, but why are you following me, great saintess? Mr. Villain's Day Off, even the elf captain wants to be a maiden. And then they had some webtoons that they announced. So webtoons from Net Comics, Bring the Love, Bluffing, The Blue Snake, and The Red Moon, Chunchu, A Spoonful of Your Love, Anonymous Forum, and titles from Kanman Studios, My Campus Guardian of Beauties, Haunted House, and manga from Medibang, Ninja Rookie, Leaving Our Truths to the Shooting Star, Maria X Maria, Memories of the Sand, and Chicken Stalker. Now, the thing about this is based on the source that I am using for this, they don't have a bunch of synopsises like with the Viz Media announcement, which means that I can't really just base off of the title. They did list a lot of the people involved, but I felt that if I just read that, all of the words would blur together and no one would remember anything that we talked about here. And so I'm sure that if I did some research, just a couple of Google searches, I'd be able to find something that's super fascinating and maybe an author that I might know, but just don't know their name off the top of my head. And then be super excited for that. But yeah, I mean, just based off of that, there's nothing super exciting there, that maybe I would have to look into something before getting super excited. Do you know what I mean? So Blackjack, the classic manga that everybody knows. The 50th anniversary is actually coming up as well, if not had already passed. I haven't really kept up with that. I think it is this year, but I could be wrong. And then it's inspired multiple anime adaptations as well as spin-off from other creators and things like that. Well, they have now announced a new manga co-produced by Tezuka Productions and an artificial intelligence. Now we know how I feel about this, but maybe they're using it in a way that this is one of the stories that I wanted to react to. So I'm not prepared on this. I want to read it myself live. We're just going to see how I feel. Okay, this AI is based on chatbot ChatGPT-4. The project utilizes technology developed under contract by the New Energy and Industrial what did I just say? Industrial Technology Development Organization, or NIDO, a research and development agency in Japan. Keio University's Faculty of Science and Technology professor Satoshi Kurihara and Tezuka Productions, Makoto Tezuka, are also participating in the project. So they haven't really said, it looks like Chat GPT. So that means they're probably writing the thing. They're probably gonna, I hope that this means maybe they'll, gosh, I don't know. I can't think of a way I like this. I don't like it, guys. I'm sorry. It means they're gonna just send an outline to Chat GPT and be like, yo, write me a script and then we'll animate it. And then they're like, okay, beep, boop, 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 and then send it over. And maybe they'll do some touch-ups. But either way, it's still Chat GPT that wrote it. I don't like this. I don't like, as, and I say this every time we talk about AI, but as someone who is a writer, a director, who's been super involved in film and anime and storytelling and things like that for the past decade, I love this stuff. Hearing about this rise in AI and everybody being like, oh my gosh, what if we let the AI write the stuff for us? Or with a lot of times in manga lately, what if we had it draw the thing for us? I don't like it. Why? Why are we doing this? Why? Why can't we just write things? I think of in Transformers Age of Extinction, when Stanley Tucci's character Joshua Joyce is like freaking out that Galvatron keeps looking like Megatron and not Optimus. And he's like, why can't we make what we want to make the way we want to make it? And I'm like, why can't we write things? Why can't we be artists? Why are we trying to create art without artists involved? Why are we giving it to some robot and being like, yo, create this that can only be made properly with a human's touch, because a human has a point of view. AI in its current state does not. So why are we doing this other than just to be lazy and to make the production faster? All this shows to me is that these people genuinely don't have a care about what they're doing, and they have no interest in actually telling a story that they're passionate about or anything like that. They're just trying to capitalize off of the Blackjack name, or maybe try to meet a deadline of a studio. Honestly, this is disgusting to me. I don't like it. But moving over to the Japanese video game rankings for this past it is this past week, or maybe it's like a week and a half ago. Either way, this is from May 29th through June 4th. And on at number one, we have Tears of the Kingdom, and its weekly sales were 78.6 thousand or 1.5 million. I believe that these are copies. I could be wrong. Hold on. Yeah, so these are weekly copies, and then on the right, the most right is the total copies. I thought so, because I made this graphic, so you'd think but you know, after you talk for an hour, you're like, what happened? What is that? Anyways, okay, so 78.6 thousand copies sold this past week, or 1.59 million copies sold total. Etrian Odyssey Collection sold 38.65 thousand copies this week, or 38.6 thousand total. Street Fighter 6 on PlayStation 5 sold 21.19 thousand copies this past week in the same total. PlayStation 4 Street Fighter 6 sold 12.07 thousand copies this past week in the same total. On Mario Kart, I guess that's Nintendo Switch, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold 9.64 thousand copies this past week, and the total copies sold are 5.31 million. We Love Katamari sold 8.41 thousand copies this past week in the same total. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sold 7.07 thousand copies this past week, or 2.2 million total. Minecraft sold 6.15 thousand copies this past week, or 3.1 million total. Loop 8 Summer of God sold 5.79 thousand copies this past week in the same total. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate sold 5.6 thousand copies this past week, or 5.2 million total. And those are the top 10 video game sales in Japan this past week. All right, guys, we're going to move on into my favorite part of the show, the Goofy Woofy anime community. All right, so starting off this week's Guac is Megan Thee Stallion was in an interview, and she was talking about some of her favorite anime of all time. And some of her favorite anime of all time, she just listed off a few, were Blue Exorcist, Attack on Titan. Her exact quote was, "I literally begin my day watching anime, and I end my day watching anime." Stallion said, "When I'm doing my makeup, I'll have it play in the background before I go to sleep at night. It's what I fall asleep to." And then she said she watches various anime like High School of the Dead, Assassination Classroom, Soul Eater, Blue Exorcist, Hunter x Hunter, and Attack on Titan. And then she gave a shout out to some different ones. She has a super big fan addiction to My Hero Academia and things like that, which is really cool. It's nice to see these celebrities be like, yeah, anime, it's so cool, man. Like we had Michael B. Jordan talking about it. We've had other celebrities talk about it in the past. And now we have Megan Thee Stallion that we can throw up in the bunch. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a fan of Megan Thee Stallion, and not that I dislike her or anything, but I don't really listen to music with words in them. I'll be honest. You know what I mean? I listen to a lot of film scores or lo-fi, things like that. Whenever I listen to music, it's usually to help me focus with something. I rarely listen to music to enjoy music. Does that make sense? I'm more of like a podcast person or like an audio book or something like that. So I just don't really listen to her. I saw her in She-Hulk. I thought she was funny there. But I don't really know nothing about her. But hey, someone with super big influence talking about anime, I like what I see. All right, so right in the heat of Demon Slayer Season 3 coming to an end, Secret Labs has announced some Demon Slayer gaming chairs, which I think are, honestly, these are pretty cool. Like, how much are these going for? You know what I mean? Like, they're probably going for way too much, in which case I won't be able to buy them. They're already going for order, or maybe for pre-order. But anyways, you can place your order for them now, and just to give you a heads up, they are not cheap. These are okay, so I have different metrics here. Okay, so you can get them based on your size, like how much you weigh and how tall you are, and small and regular go for $519. What? XL goes to $569. And then depending on the fabric and things like that you choose, you could get up to like $800, bro. And I'm sure you could even push it higher than that. Like, what the heck? Bro, I ain't gonna get this chair. Like, what? Bro, it's a gaming chair. I got this chair for like $100. I've been using it for years. It's great. Like, I mean, they look cool, especially that one in the middle. I forgot the dude's name, but the one with the sword in it, or maybe even the Inosuke one, like, these are kind of fire, bro. Like, I would get them. I would, like, if they didn't cost this much. Like, they're just trying to, and I get it. That's how they make their money, because people are going to buy it. But they're just trying to get off of the brand, the Demon Slayer brand. But I'm here like, yo, bro, have you seen this economy? All right, and the last thing in the guac today in the Goofy Woofy anime community for this week is the Dragon Slayer Berserk pillows are back in stock. That's right, you can sleep with Dragon Slayer. You can sleep with the sword from Berserk. I honestly, like, I kind of saw these and I laughed for a second, but then I was like, maybe I should get this. But then I saw the price and I was like, it's a pillow, bro. Like, how are these people spending? How are they charging us so much? Like, it's a pillow. It's a pillow. This should not cost more than $20, bro. I'm being 100%. This should not, like, bro. In what universe, bro? I can print this myself. Like, what? And that's probably, honestly, this and the Demon Slayer chairs are probably our certified Goofy moment for this week. I honestly, I'll probably put it on the Demon Slayer chairs more because those are getting close to $1,000. Did you hear me? I said 1,000, a grand. That's close to one with 3 zeros behind it. What? At least the Berserk pillow doesn't go past, like $80. You know what I mean? But still, that's way too much. Like, what the heck? Regardless, that was the guac this week. All right, and in the final part of the show, the rapid fire news, the stories that, there's a lot of news that comes out this week, but I can't talk about every story in detail, maybe because I'm not an expert on it, or maybe because it came out super fast before I was able to write down notes for it, or because there was already too many topics that I was talking about already. And so here's the rapid fire news for this week. And if you're interested in these, you can go look up these stories on your own and check out those thoughts and give me your thoughts down below on these stories. So, Anime Expo obviously announced their whole schedule. We're not going to go into that because that would take like 45 minutes of breaking it down, and most of that is kind of boring and useless. Then they released the most popular songs in the first half of 2023. I bet you can guess what the top two are. One was the opening from Chainsaw Man, and the second one was from Oshinoko. Then they had The Rising of Shield Hero Season 3 plans to advance screen the first episode or so around the world. So in July, they're doing Los Angeles, Paris, and Austin. August, they're doing Mannheim, Germany, Toronto, Canada, and Tokyo, Japan. October, they're doing Tokyo as well. And I think in the October one, they're doing like a cast thing as well there. Then they're doing My Happy Marriage and Backflip are getting stage plays, more stage plays. You know how I feel about these stage plays. My Happy Marriage is getting one in August and Backflip one in October. The Blue Giant film has been acquired by a distribution studio and is set to release in North America later this year. Kana of the Great Snow Sea Star Sage film premieres at Annecy Film Festival on June 16th, along with a few other anime films that we've talked about already this year. The Misfit of Demon Academy Season 2 will re-air from the first episode starting July 8th for the summer season. And Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead, gets a new key visual and a trailer. I thought that they were actually pretty fun. And you know me, someone who doesn't like anime trailers all that much, if I thought it was good, I'm sure you probably gonna like it as well. Sui Ishida, creator of Tokyo Ghoul, doesn't consider the manga a success, saying, "Success for me is whether I can praise myself for it or not." But he was still happy that the audience was still there for the manga. And obviously it's been a huge commercial success, so I don't think he's talking about it in that regard, but I think he means more on a deeper artistic level, which, you know, I can vibe with. I think I beat myself up for my own art a lot of times where I'm like, could have done that, could tweak that. And, you know, you're never truly happy with your work. Lisa performed the Japanese dub theme song for the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse movie and released a lyric video on YouTube earlier this week. American animator Henry Thurlow becomes the first non-Japanese episode animator or director for One Piece. So that's a huge major deal. So congrats to that guy. And former Square Enix employee Taisuke Sasaki handed suspended sentence, 180 million fine for insider trading. And that's all the rapid news for this week. And guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Otaku Experience. Let me know what you guys think about this new format that I'm trying out. As I was going, I noticed some things that we can do just by myself. I already noticed some things that we can do a little bit differently to help prepare us for next week to make things go even smoother. But let me know, did you like this format? Did you not? All that feedback would be greatly appreciated. What are your thoughts on these stories? Yeah, if you want to watch more content on the Burr Network, we have a lot of content all the time. You know, something I always notice is how much RM is always doing, like on her channel, on the Burr Network. I'm like, yo, does she sleep, bro? Like, what is going on? She's always streaming. She's always live. So she's always on the channel. So you can always check out something that she's doing. We have Lana Ewan doing her Burr Network reviews, where she reviews classic horror films that you may not have seen, or maybe you have, like some cult classics, things like that. We have Architects of Imaginations hosted by DJ. We have Rob doing Robservations, Midnight Musings, Whining About Movies is coming back. Let's Get Physical Media. We have Que Pasa PGS. We have the member chats. So many other shows. I feel bad if I'm forgetting anybody. I'm trying to. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. I'm so sorry if I'm forgetting anybody. And if you guys want to check me out, you can check out my main channel, Kingtanic, where I talk about anime in a similar way. I'm always giving my thoughts, but it's in a different format, you could say. So you guys can check me out over there as well. You can also follow me on Twitter at Kingtanic Israel, or follow me on Instagram at Kingtanic. That's going to do it for me this week, guys. I hope you guys have a good week. And yeah, go watch the Black Clover movie, because that comes out this week. And yeah, take care.